We interrupt your programming to bring you this live breaking news update. Years of waiting and weeks of court come down to this as the jury prepares to deliver a verdict in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell.
Question number 1. In regards to count 1 of the amended indictment, is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception? Answer.
Welcome to Rexburg, Idaho, a picturesque and charming town that has earned a reputation as one of the safest cities in the United States. However, the peace of this community was shattered when 2 kids vanished and were subsequently discovered murdered in a backyard. In November of 2019, a case emerged that would captivate the nation. Lori Vallow Daybell's 2 children, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow, were reported missing by J.J.'s grandparents. Their concern was sparked when they were unable to reach J.J. by phone. What followed was a complex and mysterious investigation that will leave many questions unanswered.
Right now, police strongly believe the lives of Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan are in extreme danger. The 2 children have been missing now for more than 4 months, and investigators say their newlywed mother and stepfather refuse to cooperate.
Lori, Nate Eaton with East Idaho News. Can you tell me where your kids are? Where are your kids?
No comment.
No comment? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Where are your children? Yeah, why don't you just give us a comment? Just tell us where they are.
In February 2020, after vanishing shortly after being questioned as to why she didn't report her children missing, Lori would be arrested in Hawaii on a warrant issued by authorities in Idaho for failing to produce proof of life for her missing kids. Lori would be charged with felony of desertion of a child as well as obstruction. In June 2020, investigators found human remains buried on Lori's newly wedded husband, Chad Daybell's property in Idaho that were later identified as belonging to his wife's missing children. Before attempting to flee, he was arrested and charged with concealing evidence. Both Mr. and Mrs. Daybell have been in custody since they were arrested. However, the arrest of Lori and Chad would only be one piece of a massive puzzle of individual events that would eventually paint a picture of extreme manipulatory behavior. The trial of Lori Vallow Daybell, the Doomsday Mom, would begin first on April 3rd, 2023. But who is Lori Vallow Daybell and how did all of this even start? Well, let's take a brief look back at Lori and all the events that led up to where we are now. Originally from San Bernardino, California, Lori Noreen Cox was born in 1973. Before all of her notoriety, Lori's first known public appearance was in 2004, where she once competed in Wheel of Fortune and in the Miss Texas pageant, losing one and winning the other.
Hi, how you doing, Lori? Lori Ryan from Austin, Texas, a hairstylist in Austin, hey?
That's right, the best.
Talk about your family a little bit.
I have a wonderful husband, Joseph, at home, who is watching our 2 beautiful children, Colby, who's 7, and Tylee, who is 1.
Okay, sounds like you have a nice life there.
We do.
Congratulations.
Thank
Nice to have you with us.
Soon after, she would eventually meet and marry businessman Charles Vallow, who would become her 4th husband at the time. Friends say it appeared to be a happy marriage. Together, the couple would raise Colby and Tylee Ryan, Lori's children from her previous marriages. Lori and Charles would soon adopt a grandson of Charles's sister, J.J. Vallow. Diagnosed with autism, the Vallow family would embrace J.J., and close friends would say Lori seemed to be an ideal mother for him. However, sometime around 2017, relatives say Lori's relationship with her family would begin to change. She had begun reading books of Doomsday author Chad Daybell. Daybell, who co-founded Spring Creek Book Company, a publishing house with his then wife Tammy Daybell, would write several fiction books about preparing for the end of the world and the second coming of Christ, dating back to 2007. He and Tammy would live outside of Rexburg, Idaho, where they would raise their 5 children. Sometime in 2018, Chad Daybell spoke at the Preparing a People conference in St. George, Utah.
Probably have relatives or friends who are questioning, why would they go to a preparedness conference? There's absolutely no reason to go. Anyway, I was thinking that you probably will want to have a message prepared for when you get back to your ward tomorrow or something, when they say, well, what did you hear? What did they tell you? And so I'm going to give a statement that you can share with them.
Lori would attend and eventually meet Chad. Lori Vallow's friends say there was an immediate connection between the two, and shortly after they appeared together on a podcast called Time to Warrior Up, which was made by Preparing a People.
Thank you.
Also with us today is
Lori.
And Lori is so cool. People don't even know who you are. Well, the people in the know who you are, but one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is so that we can spread the light of knowledge and help people learn about who they are and find their gifts and draw closer to Christ.
It's so fun to be here with Jason and Melanie. I love them so much and grateful for them and all their service that they do. I feel like that I work for the Lord. I feel like I've turned my life to Him from circumstances that have happened to me in my life.
Lori Vallow's friend at the time, Melanie Gibb, would later say she heard Chad and Lori talking about zombies, which defined by them were people whose souls were replaced by dark spirits. Chad and Lori would start referring to close friends and eventually family members as such, including Lori's then husband, Charles Vallow, particularly as a demon named Ned Schneider. In 2019, Charles Vallow became very worried about Lori, and he went to the police with his concerns. He told them Lori believed she was a god preparing for the end of days.
In probation, and she knows when the second coming is happening next year, so does the prophet.
Okay.
He knows it, she knows about it. She meets with Moroni, Jesus Christ, face to face in the temple every day. I've tried to support her as much as I could, but it's gotten really, really bad lately. She's had a break. She says, I'm Nick Schneider. I've taken over Charles's body, and Charles has been killed. I'm going to kill you. You're going to be murdered today or tomorrow. I can do it. I'm back there with my priesthood, with my power. She does priesthood blessings. She does.
So who's Nick Schneider? Okay.
That's who I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
According to reports, it is believed that around this time Lori would begin to have an affair with Chad. Charles expressed that he feared for his life and his children's safety. Unfortunately, Charles would be right.
Chandler Police Department, anybody inside, make yourself known.
On July 11, 2019, Charles would go to the house where Lori was living with the children in Chandler, Arizona. During an alleged intervention for Lori planned by Charles and Lori's brother Adam Cox about her radical beliefs, a confrontation occurred that would eventually lead to Charles's death. Lori's brother Adam Cox would tell the police that Lori and Charles got into a fight, and to protect his sister, he shot Charles in self-defense. Lori would go on to tell a similar story of self-defense.
And I don't know if you know this or not, does your brother normally carry a gun? Like, I carry a gun everywhere I go.
Right, like, I know he's a gun person, like,
Okay.
he has guns and things.
Okay.
He's good with guns.
Did you know that he had one with him?
No.
When he came over?
No, but
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because
Okay.
he's very, very professional with guns.
Proficient, professional.
No criminal charges were filed at the time, but after further investigation, police said Vallow and Cox conspired to kill Charles Vallow. Shortly after Charles's death, Lori Vallow would move closer to Chad Daybell, relocating her children and brother Alex to Rexburg, Idaho. A few weeks later, on September 8, 2019, Lori, Tylee, JJ, and Alex would go to Yellowstone National Park. Police said this is where the last known photo of Tylee was taken before she vanished. Melanie Gibb has said that around this time, Lori would start to refer to Tylee as a zombie. The morning after Tylee Ryan disappeared, investigators say Alex Cox's cell phone GPS placed him in Chad Daybell's backyard for about 2 hours. About 14 minutes after Cox's GPS showed him leaving the property, Chad Daybell would text his wife Tammy. The text would read, "I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun, and he was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. He is now in our pet cemetery." A few weeks later, along with Tylee, JJ would also go missing. The day after JJ was last seen, investigators say Alex's Cox cell phone would show again that Cox returned to Chad Daybell's backyard. This time, Cox was there for only 17 minutes. With Lori Vallow's children's whereabouts unknown at the time, tragedy would strike again, this time with Chad Daybell's family. Less than a month after Tylee and JJ went missing, Daybell's wife Tammy would be found dead.
I got a phone call from Chad telling me that she had passed away in her sleep.
How do you process something like that?
You don't. I mean, like, there's just so many thoughts running through your head. And a lot of it was like, no, that didn't happen.
What did Chad say happened?
That she'd been sick and had a coughing fit and passed away.
The Daybell children declined an autopsy since the coroner at the time told them Tammy's death appeared to be by natural cause. They believed it because they said their mom was in ill health prior to her death. Roughly 2 weeks later, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell would fly to Hawaii to get married on the beach. Later that month, JJ's grandmother, Kay Woodcock, asked police to check on JJ's welfare. Woodcock said she was concerned and hadn't heard from JJ in months. Rexburg police went to Lori Vallow Daybell's house looking for JJ. Police say Vallow Daybell lied to them, claiming that JJ was safe and staying in Arizona with her friend Melanie Gibb. At first, Gibb wasn't forthcoming about JJ's whereabouts, but later called police and told them JJ hadn't been with her. Detectives later discovered that Daybell and Vallow abruptly vacated their home when police returned to question them the very next day. Later to be determined, the newlyweds traveled back to Hawaii. Unearthed surveillance footage appeared to show Lori dumping children's items at a storage facility around the time she and Daybell fled. While Rexburg police attempted to locate JJ, investigators soon realized that his sister Tylee was missing also, and launched a nationwide search for the children.
This is a Fox 13 News special report.
Joshua J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan are still missing, and their mother, Lori Vallow, did not bring them to authorities in Idaho before yesterday's court-ordered deadline.
Lori and Chad Daybell's attorney is not commenting on this matter. In fact, they haven't released a statement since December 23rd. That statement saying in part that the couple looks forward to addressing the allegations once they have moved beyond speculation and rumor.
In December 2019, Fremont County Sheriff's investigators grew suspicious about Tammy Daybell's death and the potential connection to the disappearances of Lori's children. So, they proceeded to exhume her body to conduct an autopsy. That same month, Lori's brother, Alex Cox, died in Arizona. That was determined he died of natural causes.
I don't know. That's what Mike is probably one of our best paramedics.
He was blue when I walked in.
What's that?
He was blue when I walked in until I started doing compressions. He was blue on the face.
On January 25th, 2020, authorities served Lori an order requiring her to produce her children, and after failing to comply, Lori Vallow Daybell would be arrested in Hawaii. 2 weeks later, she was extradited to Idaho. Even after Vallow Daybell's arrest, the couple refused to say where their children were. However, on June 9, 2020, the FBI, Rexburg Police, and Fremont County Sheriff's Office descended upon Chad Daybell's home and property.
Are they seizing stuff again?
Tonight, a nationwide search for two missing children has come to a gruesome end. Family members confirmed that the remains found on Chad Daybell's rural property in Idaho are the bodies of his stepchildren.
Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow Daybell were charged with first-degree murder for the deaths of JJ and Tylee. Daybell was also charged with murdering his wife, Tammy Daybell. But more on that later. Okay, So now that we're caught up, let's get into the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell, the Doomsday Mom.
The trial against Lori Vallow Daybell is expected to start. She and her husband Chad face multiple counts of murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the deaths of 7-year-old JJ and 16-year-old Tylee. Their bodies found buried on Daybell's family property in Idaho. Vallow Daybell will not be facing the death penalty if she's convicted.
April 10th, the prosecutor, Lindsay Blake, began the opening statements of the trial. The details provided were shocking, including information about the killings of the children, the remains found, and the claims made by Lori and Chad. The trial also revealed a web of deceit and death surrounding the couple. According to Blake's statement, the case revolved around 3 main factors: money, power, and sex. According to the prosecutor, Lori and Chad's extreme beliefs led them to commit heinous crimes, including the murder of their former spouses and Lori's children, whom they claimed were possessed by demons that needed to be eliminated. Blake alleges that the person in question pocketed the children's Social Security benefits after their disappearance. It also concerns Vallow and Daybell's extreme religious beliefs, particularly their membership in a far-right fringes of the Church of Latter-day Saints that plans for the return of Christ and the end of the world. According to Blake, the couples created a rubric by which they rated people as light and dark, and when the evil inside a person couldn't be exorcised, a common theme was the body had to be destroyed. The prosecutor claimed that even though Vallow may not have personally destroyed those bodies, she was nevertheless guilty of the crime. JJ's grandmother, Kay Woodcock, would take the stand first.
Could you state your name for the court and spell out your last name?
Ethel Kathleen Vallow Woodcock. I go by Kay.
According to sources, Woodcock took custody of JJ from her daughter after he was born prematurely at 30 weeks because he had drugs in his system. According to her, JJ had autism and needed specialized treatment. Even after moving JJ to Arizona, Lori and Charles Vallow offered to adopt him, but Woodcock and her husband Larry continued to visit him every chance they could. Woodcock would add that her and Lori were friends. However, in 2019, the relationship would change. After Lori vanished, Charles was left distraught. Woodcock allegedly stated that Lori never reached out to JJ or Charles. During that time, she could only FaceTime her grandson for a total of 45 seconds at a time. Over the following 3 months, she claimed she had made numerous attempts to contact him, but never got a response from Lori. She testified in court that once Lori learned Charles had changed his life insurance policy's beneficiary from her to his sister, contact between them diminished. During that time, she could only FaceTime her grandson for a total of 45 seconds at a time. Over the following 3 months, she claimed she made numerous attempts to contact him but never got a response from Lori. According to Woodcock, she opened her late brother's email in November of 2019 and discovered an Amazon shipping notification. She looked over the receipt and noticed a bridal gown, wedding rings, and a white linen suit for a man, 2 weeks before Tammy Daybell's passing on October 22nd. The state would continue to call on dozens of witnesses and repeatedly show jurors disturbing images that show the horrific conditions of Tylee and JJ's bodies. Much of the evidence in the trial had been circumstantial, including scores of text messages from Vallow Daybell's phone. But a DNA expert also testified that a hair stuck to a segment of duct tape on JJ's body was found to be a match of Lori. Among the dozens of witnesses called, Kobe Ryan, Lori's only surviving son, would take the stand. The visibly emotional Ryan would start by detailing the events that occurred after Charles Vallow was killed. Ryan would claim that Lori told him that Charles died of a heart attack, but in reality, we all know that her brother Alex shot and killed Charles. Before leaving the stand, the prosecution would play a jailhouse phone call he had with his mother after police found his siblings' bodies on Daybell's property. Kobe said he had been suspicious about the whereabouts in the months prior because texts from Tylee's phone didn't sound like her and because his mother wouldn't give him a straight answer when he asked where they were.
Hello? You think you can hide from me?
I'm not hiding. You just quit talking to me.
Probably because you murdered my siblings.
I didn't. I'm sorry that you feel that way.
You didn't do anything, right? Mom, I thought
I could trust you. I thought that you were a completely different person. I don't know your worst mother.
To make judgments when you weren't there and you don't know what happened.
What happened?
Everyone's making their own judgments.
The night before Lori's brother Alex Cox died, his wife would also testify, saying she had a feeling that her husband of less than 2 weeks was keeping something from her. Zaluma Pastanez, who met Lori in the fall of 2018, became engaged to Cox on November 7, 2019, and the two were married on December 1st. Cox died December 12th, of what authorities have said were natural causes. But the night before he died, his wife pressured him to tell her about unsettling things she'd observed between him, Lori, and Lori's fifth husband, Chad.
Did Lori ever talk to you, or Lori and Chad ever talk to you about how long they expected JJ to live?
Lori had said that he was going to have a very short life, that the reason why he was going to live a short life was because he was going to come right back as Colby's child.
And to your knowledge, did Alex believe this?
Yes, but Alex believed everything they told him.
Prosecutors would go on to say that Lori and Chad Daybell benefited from the 3 deaths by funneling money towards themselves in the form of federal benefits and insurance payouts. Their goal was to create a new life free from their relatives. Other charges against Lori would include grand theft, with the U.S. government as the victim, after she received Social Security funds intended for the care of Tylee and JJ and did not report Tylee's death. Prosecutors also said that shortly before his wife died unexpectedly, Chad signed paperwork to boost her life insurance to the maximum allowed under the policy. And after her body was exhumed and an autopsy finally done, it would determine that she had been asphyxiated. Prosecutors would spend weeks laying out their case against Lori as the trial spanned more than a month. But in a stunning move, Lori's defense team opted not to call a single witness, resting its case minutes after prosecution finished their presentation. During the closing arguments, the prosecution would say Lori and Chad Daybell's entire relationship was entwined in a deadly criminal conspiracy they sought to justify with fantastical beliefs. Rather than simply starting a new life together after they met in October, the couple plotted to kill their closest relatives and benefit from their deaths through insurance payouts and Social Security benefits. In the defense's closing argument, Archibald said his client was in the thrall of a man she sees as a messiah and her eternal soulmate. He also said prosecutors failed to directly tie Lori to her children's deaths. DNA evidence such as hair on a piece of tape could have resulted from a mother's normal behavior. A jury of 7 men and 5 women will begin deliberating on the 5-week case and will reach a verdict in only 2 days.
We interrupt your programming to bring you this live breaking news update. Years of waiting and weeks of court come down to this as the jury prepares to deliver a verdict in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell, the Idaho mom.
In the District Court of the 7th Judicial District of the State of Idaho, in and for the County of Fremont, State of Idaho plaintiff versus Lori Noreen Vallow. In regards to count 1 of the amended indictment, is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception? Answer, guilty. Question number 2. In regards to count 2 of the amended indictment, is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan? Answer, guilty. Question number 3. In regards to count 3 of the amended indictment, is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow and grand theft by deception? Answer, guilty.
Lori Vallow Daybell was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of conspiracy in the deaths of her children, as well as Tammy Daybell, the first wife of her husband, Chad. Sentencing would be at a later time where she would be facing life in prison.
Y'all ready? Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Lori, it ended.